What do I feel about Volume 9, Chapter 3? It's a good question, but I will say this is probably the most invested I've been in RWBY since early Volume 7, though it definitely didn't live up to what I hoped. The start of the episode is fine. I fucking despise this little red prince shit, but I guess that was probably the point. He isn't as over the top and entertaining as I'd like the character he's clearly based on, nor is he sinister enough when he's in the winning seat to have any gravity to his presence. He is a non-event who is annoying every moment he's on screen, but I guess that was kind of the point. However, the game, on the other hand, actually had me interested for a bit. The setup isn't anything original, but it's also not like anything we've seen in RWBY. Yeah, I did kind of feel like I wanted to flick the No Game No Life instead, please give me a Season 2, and when the rest of RWBY got turned into playing pieces, my mind went straight to that one game during Duelist Kingdom with Bakura. Bakura? Why did I go to Bakura? So that had me quite interested. I wanted to see how this went. When the rules were set up as vague and unclear, I kind of assumed that this was because this and the next episode would be about the game and focus on RWBY actually learning how it's played. I thought, how interesting would it be if, despite the prince knowing the rules, he is actually just as amateurish at the game as RWBY because he only plays against people who let him win. Meaning in reality, it's two people who don't quite know what they're doing, battling it out and coming up with tactics on the fly. How exciting! Yangwise and Blake are actually in some danger too, because we see pieces don't die when they're defeated, so these characters could actually fail without dying, and thus they might not be perfect fighters who win everything. They might actually fall. That could be neat. That could be cool. That is not what happened. Now the game almost immediately devolves that Team RWBY is so cool and beat up the bad guys, and then there's just another fight scene where Team RWBY is so cool and win. Yawn. Fucking lame. I was genuinely really excited and interested in this idea. The setup is great. I thought it'd be a fantastic way to subvert the haughty, childish royal trope by having the prince actually reveal himself to be genuinely really fucking evil and sinister, and everything else could just be a facade. I thought we'd see RWBY grow as a leader by being put in situations that, in early volumes, she would have responded to with a head-on charge, but now she's finding different solutions that, over time, she has grown to accept as possibilities. She's grown as a leader, you can show that here. Maybe she could have even thought about other characters who aren't in this volume and thought what they might do. My mind was just so full of so many ideas, maybe spoiled by how that's what would have happened in better shows. But no, it's just another generic fight scenes with the girls being amazing and cool and winning effortlessly. I don't mind RWBY breaking through her depression to get into the moment here as much as last episode, because it feels more natural and it could even add to the somber nature of her arc. The only time she feels like herself is when she's in the midst of battle and throwing aside all of her thoughts to focus on destroying her enemy. I might be reading too much into it, but I don't dislike that idea. And then after that we get the Cheshire Cat. I'm not going to look up what their actual name is or bother remembering it, but this is the Cheshire Cat. While the animation isn't nearly up to as much as what I expect from the Cheshire Cat, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more striking visual designs in the show in terms of how it is animated and goes around things. Again, not original, but I'm at least the smallest bit intrigued. I like the chase sequence. It felt like that was the most interesting animation they've attempted with RWBY. It's something that doesn't try to look like the most generic anime ever and tries to be visually interesting. I definitely think it could have gone way harder, and I absolutely wish there was some clever transition from this zoom out into showing RWBY and Co hiding, because everything else was pretty smoothly animated in this whole thing. But given what we normally get this volume so far has amounted to generic boring action or anime zoom-ins and stuttering animation, I'll take what I can get. And that's your lot. This episode amounted to Team RWBY walk into a building, get screamed at, leave, and follow a cat. Oh, and then Neo shows up around Zarude and decides to gang rape it or something, or what was up with that? Neo, I guess, can just do shadow clones now, I don't know. I hope this isn't the end of Zarude or just an excuse to have Neo take it over or become it and pretend to be it. This thing is the most interested I am in anything this volume. So, bad episode? Nah, not even close. Disappointing episode? Absolutely. I'm super bummed out that the idea of taking a break from the same old shit that this volume seems to be trying to do has not carried into many of the conflicts. The plant has your weapon, try to fight it. The guy is auctioning your arm, start a fight. You're in a death game, fight your way out. I hope the subversion they try to do is not just, but what if instead of creative solutions they brute force their way out? But maybe it'll come around. We'll learn that by solving everything through violence instead of thought, that Team RWBY have done irreparable damage to this world instead of, what it would have happened if they just thought their way through. I'm kind of interested in the idea of RWBY being in the, ever after of a fairy tale, This is the world after the events of the story, and we can see how things panned out after the happy ending. Though it feels like this is just a discount version of that one sci-fi show, The Magician, I think it was. I never watched past season 3, is it worth continuing? I don't know, that show was really weird, but better than RWBY in a lot of ways. I'm kind of worried they won't really do much with the concept of a post-story fairy tale world, but we'll see. So far, the raccoon is older and, well, nothing interesting's been done with that yet. The Red King is dead and now his son is in charge, but his son acts just like the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, which is what they're obviously taking it from. Instead, they could have, had the Red King be like the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland, but now after a bunch of years, it's subverted, so now he's matured in time. He could be an older, more mature Queen of Hearts who realized he enjoyed his game with the not Alice and just wants to enjoy the time he has to play another game and another story again. Then when he loses it, he takes it with more grace than he used to, surprising especially Blake. That could have been neat, would have been for an interesting antagonist, far more than this little shit. Not sure how this will apply to the other characters in the story. I guess we can confirm that my crapshoot idea of Neo being Alex and John being the Rusted Knight is not true. Given Alex has gone through the story, so it should just be an old character he's seen in the past volumes. If they were to tie it into anyone, I'd rather they not. I guess it could have been a life that Ozpin lived. That could be interesting, maybe. Maybe Ozpin reincarnated in the body of a female once. Who knows? And obviously, the Rusted Knight has to be someone who was here way before John got here. I don't know. I imagine the Rusted Knight is based on either the Red or White Knight from Alice in Wonderland, or from Through the Looking Glass. Maybe he's the knight who survived the battle they had. I know in the story of The Looking Glass, the Red Knight survives his battle with the White Knight, but maybe in this world, the Red Knight substitute died, and the White Knight regrets those actions, because in the end, he killed someone who was innocent to save an innocent. He just traded a life when he didn't need to. Maybe in this world, the White Knight stand-in regrets that action and just wants to redeem himself by helping RWBY and Co. without anyone else having to lose their lives. After all, they did get 2 people beheaded with their actions. Or maybe the Rusted Knight could be the Red Knight, who after losing was dishonored and was just trying to find a way to help people. And maybe the White Knight died sometime after, and the Red Knight vowed to take his place and help anyone who end up in the same situation as Alex. Or maybe I'm thinking too much about a character I haven't seen beyond the intro and has only been briefly mentioned, and RWBY will not do anything as interesting as that. Who knows? Maybe it'd be cool if the Rusted Knight at least took a mentor role to John whenever John shows up. Maybe he'll show up in a meteorite like Neo. Ooh, the Rusted Knight could actually be one of John's ancestors. That could be neat, because he was talking with a lot of pride about his ancestors. Maybe they could reveal Krakia Moors is actually a hand-me-down from the Rusted Knight. That could be interesting, I guess. Or maybe there's already information about this in the future episodes and I'm just making myself look like an absolute fool because someone's screaming the answers at me. I don't know, I don't care, I'm not up to date. Oh, and I guess if I was writing this, the Cheshire Cat would have been someone who loved the original Not Alice as someone to have fun with, because the Cheshire Cat was already used to this world, and what's wacky to us was normal to it. But Alice was new and weird because she didn't understand anything. So when she left, the Cheshire Cat got bored because everything went back to its version of normal. So instead of helping Team RWBY, they just sort of run Team RWBY in circles, wanting them to be there forever, and is actually an antagonist, and they have to learn a lesson about how they're wrong about their actions for whatever reason. I don't know, I wouldn't think that far ahead, I'm not writing the story, but that's probably what I would do with the Cheshire Cat. Anyway, that was that review. I was super interested, got super burnt, but now I'm actually pretty interested in the potential that this story has with the post-fairy tale story fairy tale world. It's an interesting concept that I wish was explored more. Probably is, and I've just not seen any of those stories. I definitely think it could be neat. As long as they don't reveal that actually Pyrrha is Alex, and that when she was killed, Cinder didn't kill her, she actually BFR'd her instead and sent her into another universe, and this woman here is actually Pyrrha after years have passed in the Ever After, and she returned to a world she didn't know. That would be stupid and also remove away from her passing, but you wouldn't expect it. I guess I would, but I'm saying this is something that's definitely not going to be proven canon. I don't know, do you expect me to say anything more? Like,